Welcome to Star Campus. Thank you for your interest in this webinar. My name is Elke Fuchs and I work at Star Language Technologies and Solutions, which is located in Germany. And this is one of the subsidiaries of the Star Group. The topic of today is how do I translate display text and software interfaces with Transit NXT. And on the agenda today, we will have a look at different file formats because software localization is not just binary resource files. Then we will have a look at how Transit controls the length of my translation and how Transit supports the resizing process and how we can apply accelerators in software dialogs. And we have the topic that we have a look at quality assurance in software localization project. Okay, so let's start. Software localization is not just binary resource files. What you can see here is a file format which is XML, and such kind of files can be displayed in an internet browser. As you can see, it has a certain structure, and for us, when we have to translate this row is the most important one. In this case, this is a customized file format. This is just one example of many examples an XML file can look like. And in this case, the customer told us, okay, when you translate this one, the text between the elements, you have certain character limitations, like here it is 10 and I have one row to translate into. So this is just one example how such a file can look like. As many customers we have in this world, as many formats you can encounter. That's why we have defined a special file type for this format. So this is not a standard file type. Star has defined one for this. So I just go to Transit. I switch to Transit. Let's have a look at the settings. When I talk about file type, I talk about this reference card in the project settings. And here I see the name of the specially defined file type for this file format. Okay. Let's open the language pair and have a look at it. In this case, we have prepared the file format in that way that in the first segment or in the previous segment, the translator can always see how many chars and how many rows are available. And just to give a brief idea, a visual idea about the length limitation. And when you receive such a project that you know, okay, there might be a length limitation with this. The translation is done as in any other translation project. It is done here in the segments in the target window. I just start with segment number 8 and do the translation. So this looks good. We have to translate into English, and I confirm as translated as in any other translation project. Now I have to translate the next one. Now I have a color switch here. I have a light red and a dark red. This already indicates me or shows me that we have exceeded the maximum of allowed chars. So this is also an indicator for you to take care of the length. So you don't have to start counting each character. Am I within the limit? So when we have a defined file type for a certain format, this is always indicated automatically, so that you as a translator with your linguistic knowledge can just shorten the translation in an appropriate way. In this case, it's easy. I just delete the rest and this looks okay. So in this case, the file has not, you don't have to send the file to the customer. The customer imports the file into the system to check if the translation is too long or not. You can check it right here already during the translation. Okay, I confirm as translated and go next. Here again, the color switch from light red to dark red, and in this case it is there are a few characters which are too long, but as we see in the previous segment, we have here 2 rows available. So what we just do is we split this line into 2, and I just pressed enter to insert a paragraph, so a line break. And in this case, everything looks good again, and we are fine. We don't have to split the row as it was in the source language. We can split this line into 2 according to our translation, that it fits. Okay, next one. I confirm. And here, again, we have 2 rows. I just place my cursor here and press enter, and everything looks good. Next one. We receive a fuzzy match and at the moment we have 2 windows here. This is like a default setting. We have for the display of fuzzy matches 2 windows. We have for one the bubble window, which is this one, and we have the static window. And for now, I don't need the bubble window, and I just leave it. If you also have always the 2 windows for fuzzy matches and you do not want to have them, you can change this here. Matches, option, here. And I just untick bubble for the next time that I don't have any bubble window anymore. So this is just a besides information. Okay, here we get a fuzzy match. So in general, like for any other translation project, you can work with fuzzy matches using your reference material. There is no restriction. Even if your reference material derives from any other file format, this doesn't matter. You can use it as long as you think it fits like from the content perspective. We see here in the reference material, we have this textual change compared to the new sentence. For me, I think, well, I can go with this translation, and I just take it over. And then it is too long again. And in this case, we have 3 rows available. And again, we are not forced to make the line break here and here as it is in the source. We do the line break where we think it's appropriate for our translation. So here, and you can see that the area which is limited can go over more than 1 line. So probably here, and this looks good, and we are happy with this translation, and we are content with this translation. Okay, I confirm as translated and come to the next segment. Here, I want to show you that we, of course, also can work with terminology. You can use the term star dictionaries in the background if they are attached to the project, and you can work with them as in any other translation project. In this case, I take it over. I use the terminology which is shown in the terminology window. And I am content with my translation. And I will stop now here with this project because I want to show you another one. This project was the file format XML. Another very famous and very beloved format is Excel. And let me show you this. This is an example out of a lot of examples how software strings can be handled. In this case, the customer just copied all the strings into a column of an Excel file and added to each string this information. In this case, the customer has the requirement, you have to take care that your translation does not exceed a certain amount of pixels. Because this, what you can see here, are display messages of a printer. So as you all know, those displays are very small, and you only have a certain amount of space to cover or to fit in your translation. And as you understand is, if you use like a font which is huge, like a 20 point or 60 point, you can put very little characters into that space which is available. And if you use a very small font, you can fit in a lot of characters into that space. That's why the customer also tells us which font is used and how big the font is. In this case, we also get the information about how many lines and here how many pixels are allowed. This is just one example out of a lot of examples how this can be realized within an Excel file. Again, this is not a standard, and STAR has defined a file type for that. And let me show you how this looks in Transit. I just go back and I open the Excel project. In this case, we don't have a dictionary. I open the language pair. And in this case, the file type determines or shows, even if all the markups are hidden, the amount of pixels, just to have an idea of how big the space is. And again, it is a customized file type here. This is just the way it is called. So if you receive a project like in a PPF, you will have this information available. Okay. So let's start with the first translation, and we make life easy. Again, remember, this is the display of a printer. And in this case, we translate into German. So, the same effect as in the previous project, we have the light blue and the dark blue, and the dark blue part indicates the part which is too long. And again, we can now shorten the translation according to our linguistic knowledge. So just imagine if you send this translation back to a project manager or to your customer and the customer doesn't know any German at all, this wouldn't be possible for the customer to shorten this, but you can, and that's why we make this available in Transit. Okay, so in this case, I make life easy. I just use an abbreviation for standard, and we're all set here. I confirm as translated, and I come to the next segment. Here, we have 900 pixels, which is rather an abstract number. For you, the change of the colors is the most important. What I want to focus here is the fact that the limitation can spread over more than one segment. So we are not forced to always keep everything just with one segment, that we use length control only in the range of one segment. It can be basically everything, and in this case it's spread over 3 lines or 3 segments. Okay, I will do the translation. And I confirm as translated. And already at this point, you see that the range where the length limit is applied to, or the area, is more than just one segment. It is 3 segments in this case, okay? So, but we are not done yet. Just we confirm as translated and go ahead. And it's too long again. So in this case, we can read our sentences and see, okay, we can be creative within these 3. We don't have to stick with one segment. And maybe it's better to put it this way. And make it just smaller. So we, as a translator, know, okay, this display message can be understood by the user and it will fit into the space which is predefined by the customer. Okay, so we just confirm this as translated. Okay, so here in this segment, for those of you who know German, this is really fun. This is a joke. And with this translation, which is apparently too long, I would like to show you how you can also check translations which exceed the length limitation in another way. You can do this as you do your other format checks after you have done the translation. You can check also if your translation exceeds the length, or you know that your translation exceeds the length since you have seen it, but you want to take care of it in a second step. So, you all know these options, all kinds of format check options, and in this case, it is this one which is relevant, length check. And if I run now the length check, and I open the file navigation window, I hope you all know that you can have such a report. And it shows me length check, text too long, go to segment, and of course, it points out this this segment. And if you deliver back a translation and by accident you did not see that something is too long, the project manager might do this check. Just imagine it's a huge project and somewhere one segment might be too long. Well, this happens. The project manager can also help to prevent that text which is too long is delivered to the customer. Okay. The next project I want to have a look at is a very typical software localization project. It's another file format. The file format is a so-called DLL file. I open the language pair and I just let this float out for the moment. Okay. Yeah, it looks like any other translation project. We stick in the same editor. We can work in our environment which we are used to. For software localization projects, for the special file format DLL, Transit has some special features which are very helpful for exactly this kind of file type. First, as you see here, the first few segments are pre-translated. And for example, this segment and this segment, both are very short. It's just one word. And when we see here, for example, freigeben, this source text could appear or occur in a lot of different instances, in a lot of different locations within the DLL file, and maybe it needs to be translated differently according to the position. In this case, when Transit does the pre-translation, Transit always checks the structure around the translation. And only if the structure fits, like, okay, I have the translation of an icon, I only take the translation of an icon to insert it at this spot. Or this is a translation from a string. Okay, when I do the pre-translation, I only take those which come from a string. So in this case, we can already do high quality pre-translation and making sure that not the wrong translation is put into a certain place. Another special feature about DLL files is its structure itself. Again, I have a look at the file navigation window. Okay, let me just go all the way to the top. So, this is the file from which the language pair derives from. When I open it, I get several symbols here. First, I have this one. This symbol stands for strings, which are excluded from the menu. And the subsequence of those is not relevant. It is just by accident. For example, here it is a DLL file actually from one of our products, like this one. Here, the legal things and what is the name of the EXE file and what's the name of the product. So these are like messages which do not belong to the menu, which appear or occur excluded from the menu. Okay, the next symbols you see here are the menu strings. And when I open it here, there is one string which is called job, and here are the strings within one menu. And I did a double click here, and as you can see, the language pair is synchronized to the content of the file. Let's go further down here. This symbol stands for dialog. When I open it here with the plus, I see here, this is the number of the dialog. That this dialog has a number, this is thanks to the way the developer has done his job. So the developer just gave numbers, not names. This depends. Then here we have the certain strings, and if I double click the string, or here, it's also synchronized. For the dialogs, we have in addition something special, which is the so-called resource editor. And the resource editor is another window. And as you all might know, is that we organize our windows according to certain user roles. So in this case, I will open the localization specialist user role, and here, because here, with one click, I have all the windows available I might need for my software localization project. So when we go back here, and I see, okay, I am now in this About Web Transit dialog. We are able to display the dialog as it will look like later on in the application. And also, this is synchronized with language pair and here the resource editor. Okay, I will open one of the dialogs now, this one. And as you see, it's a rather big one, so you can resize your resource editor as you need it. Here we have the target. We have the target file displayed. We can also have both German, English. This is just as you want to see it. Since this dialog is rather big, I will hide the source and stay with the translation. So, I have just clicked on segment number 340, and in the dialog I have this square here, rectangle. And this is like the field reserved for the translation in this dialog. This is defined by the developer who designed the dialog. And now when I move from one segment to the other, you will see that the subsequence in the dialog might not correspond with the subsequence in your language pair. That's why you can work like this. Go through the dialog or just stick to the subsequence in the language pair. Now let's do the translation, and we start here, all the way on top of our dialog. Translation, same as in any other dialog, and I just type it in. So, again, we see that my translation is too long. And when we have a look at the resource editor, you see this is synchronized immediately, dynamically. So you can see right away what your translation looks like in the dialog. And we don't have enough space to display our translation. So we have to shorten it. So we make life easy. And here we go. Nothing is marked in dark red, and here it fits perfectly. Okay. Then we will go to this one, which is so anyway the next one for to be translated. Again, it's too long. And when we have a look in the resource editor, we see the word net cannot be displayed, but we also see, hey, we have here lots of space behind here. So what you can do is, you can do right away the resizing here. You just take the mouse and pull it longer, the window, like this, until your translation fit in it. In this case, this is really easy way to do. Not always the customer wants that the translator is doing anything in a dialogue, but in this case, this is no big deal because there is really lots of space behind here. And as soon as I've resized here, there is no red highlighting here anymore that something is too long. Okay, now let me show you something else. And we go to this segment. This is a different dialogue, number 240. And here I want to talk about this one. I hope all of you can see here that certain letters are underlined here. These letters serve as accelerators. And an accelerator means if you work in a piece of software and you you press Alt, which I did at the moment, and for example, then all these letters will appear. These are the underlined letters and the so-called accelerators. So, for example, when I press here, then in the next step T, the terminology reference card will open. And now I have more letters to select from in order to go to the menu. This is almost the case for every software, that you have the possibility to use the mouse to go through the menu or use the accelerators. That means that you don't have to leave the keyboard to grab the mouse, but you can just press all the combinations. And when we translate software, when we do software localization, we have to take care of those. For example, when I translate here, Datei hinzufügen, it's too long. I just shorten it. I have to anyway. And in this case, I have here the accelerator. We see A is underlined. We handle the accelerators in the language pair as we do with markups. This markup here stands for the accelerator, and it is always underlining that letter in front of which it is located. So if the markup, the accelerator, is located before A, it will be A in the dialogue. Okay. So we leave this for now. And I do no fuzzy match. We don't need fuzzy match at the moment. Okay. In this case, I do my translation. And I see in the source, I have a markup, which is the accelerator. And nothing is underlined, which I can see in my resource editor. And now I have to place my markup in front of a letter which can be used as accelerator. But I have to take care that I don't use a letter twice within one dialog. And for this, the markup window can help. I let it float in, maybe make it a little bigger. And Transit tells me used accelerators in translated segments. A has been used and R has been used, okay? So I just select the F and I insert the markup as I would insert any other one by the key combination, and here we go. And as soon as the markup is there, the letter is underlined and can be used as accelerator. I mark as translated. Here, I want to show you that you also can use terminology. This is highlighted here. That Transit finds something in the dictionary. Okay, nach oben, item up. And of course, I can insert terminology as in any other translation. Again, I have something in the terminology window. In this case, I let it float in and out because of the resource editor. And of course, if you want to have it permanently open, just grab it and position it somewhere and pin it down somewhere. Okay. And I put it in. In this segment and in this segment, okay, let's press Alt. I did not take care of the accelerator. I just did my translation, okay, and I focused on that. And again, I can check the accelerators in a second step. You don't have to insert them right away in your translation. You can do your translation, check your linguistic work, and then in a second step, go through the accelerators, which are handled as markups, and check if there are some missing or whatever. So let me show you what kind of messages can you encounter when you do your review. It's again this option, or we can have a look here in the options. And this is the famous option which is used in every translation project. And in this case, markups are the accelerators, so that we don't have to, again, learn something else. And I again let the error display update that I can show you the complete list. But I just need this reference card, error. This is the file structure, and this is the error. And here, accelerator keys. So Transit is prepared for this special file format and is able to check the accelerator keys. So we can have used twice in a menu, used twice in a dialog, or even incorrectly positioned. I do a double click. Transit shows me the segment, and I see, okay, the markup is behind the translation and nothing is underlined. So what you can do is you can just correct it right here and there, like this, and it looks good. The O is underlined and we're good. Or we have additional accelerator keys. I just do a double click here to show you. No accelerator in the source language, but we find one in the target. Or the accelerator key is missing. Here, this was our translation. And maybe you just have the markup window open all the time, and then you can check, okay, these are the used accelerators. and A, F, I, and R are used, so maybe you want to use the D here and insert it. So this was basically what I wanted to show you. And of course, you can do all kinds of quality assurance, like the spell checking, terminology checks, and everything in a localization project also. So I am at the end of my webinar. In May, we will have a look at how do I translate best Office documents. And in June, we will have a look at how you can use segment filters for translation and quality control. If you want to see more details, just turn to our website here in the Start Compass section. There you will find all the webinars planned so far. And if there's any question which might occur later on or you want to ask, just turn to this email address indicated up here. So, thank you for your interest in this webinar. I hope to talk to you very soon again. Thank you and bye-bye.